You're listening to the Fantasy Wildcard Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty Show. I'm your host this week, Kev. You can follow me on X at the Dynasty Mind. We've got the band back together once again. We're doing it twice on the bounce, 2 weeks on the trot. The best three from Fantasy Wildcard. We'll come to a legend in Mags first. You can follow me on X at Hot Seat Mags. Mr. Hot Seat, how are you doing?
I am doing absolutely fantastic, Kev. Great to see the best three back together once again. You know it's going to be a good time. We're in the flow, but the European Football Championships have kicked off. It's a great time for all. How you doing, mate?
Doing absolutely awesome, mate. Yeah, it's been I can't believe it's been a week since we last spoke, but it's a great time of the year. I think it's a brilliant time. You've got startups going on. Fully engrossed in that. I've got 3 on the go at the moment. So yeah, these types of shows are really important for your startups, but also your existing leagues as well. So great show we've got in store tonight. It builds on what we did last week, looking at a few spots. But I'm now going to bring into another legend of Dynasty community. We've got Ali, who you can follow on X at FF Dynasty Grill. How are you doing, Ali?
Yeah, doing really good. Thank you, Kev. It's great to have 2 shows back to back where the best three of the Fantasy Wildcard are together. So it's just great hanging out with you guys for an hour, talking Dynasty and talking debates. I mean, all you see on telly at the minute is the debate, the Conservatives against the Tory, not against the Tories, against Labour, who's going to get into to be Prime Minister. And that's boring. We want to talk about running back debate. So this is the show we need to be checking into, and everyone needs to be looking up. So really good. Thank you, Kev. Can't wait to kick this off.
Yeah, absolutely teed it up so nice. We should call you Scotty Scheffler. We'll be looking at the ADP debates between rookies and veterans. Last week, we looked at quarterback and tight end. I think it's tricky this week. We're looking at running backs. We're going to try to fade that age bias we've got within running backs, looking at players very close in ADP. But we'll see how it goes. We're just going to pick from the heart, from the gut, and deliver some expert guidance to the people watching and listening to the show tonight. So we're going to kick off running back right at the top. Some of the highly touted guys in the running back landscape. We've got Jonathan Brooks versus Go Birds, Saquon Barkley, and we're going to come to you first, Mags. Out of these two, who you got?
If one of these two didn't grow up with Sky TV, do they get a bonus? Is that do they get any extra points for that? Right, because it's such a hard life. Yeah. They got Sky Go. They logged in on their auntie's account using Sky Go. They managed to scrape by, right? For me, well, I've got my green hat on, Kev. I'm sticking with your side here. It's Go Birds for me. It's Go Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Brooks. I really like Jonathan Brooks, actually. I think he's a really, really good prospect. I think if he didn't get that injury towards the end of last season, there wouldn't really even be a debate over if Benson or Brooks is the number one running back. There isn't really at the minute, but I think he'd be super, super clear and maybe even being drafted slightly higher. So I do like Jonathan Brooks, but he ain't no Saquon Barkley. Like, Saquon is one of the best running backs we've seen in like the years and years and years. And I think on this Philadelphia Eagles team, he's going to look great. He's going to look real, real nice. Teams are not going to know what's going to hit them. There's so many options on that Eagles offense. I think they might be leaning towards taking away some things from Hurts on the line to keep him healthy. So Saquon could be the benefit of that. Don't know what age he is, but I just think that Barkley's one of those guys that is such a physical freak that he might be an outlier to age. So as long as I'm not seeing it on the field, I'm not actually too worried about how old he is. I think he's got years left in the tank. I'll take Saquon Barkley. I feel so much safer about him than Jonathan Brooks in terms of being a high-end running back.
Yeah, he's a very young 27, 7 years younger than myself. So he's just a young whippersnapper. And give me Saquon Barkley in this situation. I've got him. I mean, he's 2 spots higher than Jonathan Brooks, so not much. I've got Barkley is running back 8, Jonathan Brooks running back 10, but there is a tier break between the two. I've got Brooks in the tier with Mags's favorite running back, Kyron Williams.
Oof.
I've got James Cook in there, Rashad White, the stud, and Kenneth Walker. And I just think, we saw the Eagles season absolutely fizzle out in that humiliation down in Tampa. So
I'm thinking Brooks here.
It was Howie with the shrewd move again. I think it was absolute genius to bring him across in division move from your rivals, Kev. And I just think I am so excited to see Saquon Barkley in this offense full of absolute studs. I just think that we've seen Barkley. I mean, the Giants have they even been a top half offense? In terms of the league while he's been there, it's just been, he's finished. He's been elite, but he's got off the back of volume, pass catching. But I just think the upside now is just. I mean, it is RB1. It's up there with perhaps Christian McCaffrey if he stays healthy. Is in his own tier. But other than that, Saquon Barkley could easily be the RB2, RB1 in that conversation this year. For the next couple of years, I think he's got a really safe floor with a massive ceiling. I'll take that over Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks, I've got an absolute ton of, taking him a lot of places in rookie drafts. Really like him. I just think, he's gone to Carolina. The offense absolutely stinks down there. I think he's going to be a good running back. That's why I've got him at RB10 in Dynasty. But I just think the ceiling is not RB1 where it is with Saquon Barkley. So I will go Birds. And I'll take Saquon Barkley here, Kev. And I'll be shocked if we don't go 3 for 3 with you coming up.
I mean, the start of last show, I was the idiot to begin with, wasn't I? Standing out on my own. But you're right. I think Saquon pretty comfortably for me. I think one interesting thing before we sort of go into Saquon is Jonathan Brooks is getting pushed really far up in rankings. Mm-hmm. The fact that this is a guy that's expected to not really do anything till the second half of the season and he's top 10 running back in Dynasty, I don't agree with that in terms of the talent. I think he's not as good a prospect as people would expect for him being that high. And I think that just says more about the landscape than him, because you've got to put someone there. And I guess with it being pretty murky beyond that top 6 or 7 or 8, put the young guy up there that's a chance to re-roll over some of these disappointing younger running backs that we have in the sort of late running back 1, early running back 2 spot. So I do think if Brooks was fully fit, this does become a conversation though, because I think the market, the way they've treated him so far, if he was fully healthy, people would see the chance to move off a 27-year-old running back that he's not going to be catching tons and tons of passes from Jalen Hurts with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and that rushing QB element there. So it's difficult. I remember last time the Eagles took a divisional rival running back who had an amazing sort of couple of seasons for them in DeMarco Murray. That didn't pan out the best. I think it'll be a different outcome this time. I hope it's a different outcome. I think they're very different as prospects as well. But there is a little bit of pause with Saquon. I think, the passing upside is not there. I think touchdown upside does take a bit of a knock as well, with Hurts being sort of lethal around the goal line. But as well, they can't be getting him into that 10-15 touchdown territory again, in my eyes. So give me Saquon with 3-0. Hope for the Birds start 3-0 in the upcoming season as well. Let's go. We're going to move on to the next pair of running backs now. We've got the rookie in Trey Benson, and we've got the veteran in Josh Jacobs. We'll come back to you, Ali. Give us your thoughts.
So this one is actually closer than I anticipated. Looking at my rankings, I've recently moved Josh Jacobs down a couple of spots. I think Josh Jacobs is a very, very lucky running back in the fact that he's just landed on an unbelievable offense in Green Bay. You look at the contract, it's a big contract, but there is definitely that year one where they can get out at the end of 2024 fairly easily if they want to. And just looking at last season, I mean, I'm not the only one that has said it. He sucked last year. You look at, he wasn't even running at 3.5 yards a carry. That is bad. That is bad. He looked very much on the decline in terms of his NFL career. So, you know, when you go up against Trey Benson, who was my rookie running back 1 in the pre-draft process, someone that I really, really liked. Really liked the landing spot as well in Arizona. I think it's an absolute perfect spot for him to share the load year one. I think obviously James Conner has been a great servant and he's been a really good fantasy running back. And I think he'll continue to be this year. But then going forward with Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., I think this offense is really on the up, and Trey Benson is going to be a massive part of that. So give me Trey Benson just because I think the arrow's very much pointing up on his career, and Jacobs, the arrow is very much pointing down. I think he could have a handy, season this year because I think he'll score plenty of touchdowns in that offense. But Trey Benson, I think he could dominate in the next few years. I really do like the prospect. So give me that guy.
I thought this is where we were going to disagree, Ali. I was sure people were going to take Josh Jacobs. I'm taking Trey Benson here pretty easily, actually. It's not particularly close for me. Josh Jacobs, you mentioned less than 3.5 yards per carry last year. He was averaging as well for your fantasy team, averaging 13 points a game. The same as the incredibly maligned Austin Eckler last year, the same amount of fantasy points per game as Austin Eckler. So all the arrows are pointing in one way for Josh Jacobs, and that's down. And we're going to chat about a guy that he's got to live with coming up later as well, who I think might actually start to eat into Josh Jacobs' role as well. They're crossing each other on the highway. For me, I'll take Benson every day of the week. But my favorite thing about this is if you have Josh Jacobs on your roster right now, I bet you can go out and get Trey Benson for him. I think people will still make that move. You might even be able to get a plus. So I love it. I think Benson all day for me. And if I got Jacobs, this is exactly the move I'm trying to make. Go out, get someone like Benson where there are question marks because of James Conner, and just you'll thank yourself a year later.
Yeah, I think this is difficult, actually. Like, I'm not a Jacobs fan at all. I think he's terrible. I think he's got by on volume. He's got by on touchdowns. He's not good. He should never been a first-round draft pick either in terms of in real life. So he's been lucky. He always puts up big numbers against me in fantasy as well, the horrible person that he is. I can't see Benson outscoring him year one. Even though I don't like Josh Jacobs, I do really like James Conner. So I can't see Benson getting anywhere near Jacobs in year one. Even if it is a split backfield, I think Conner is still really good. He might have an injury, but I think there's no chance he'll lose his job to Trey Benson this season. So that's got me thinking, what would I do? If this was a startup, who would I be taking? And it is close. It's surprisingly closer than I would expect. But I am taking Trey Benson because I don't believe in Jacobs beyond this year. His contract, it's a 4-year deal, but he's got less guaranteed money than that bum DeAndre Swift.
Yes.
And Benson, he's not a great prospect for me, but he's landed in a pretty good spot and he's going to have time on his side.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, thinking next year, the scenarios where Benson absolutely smokes Jacobs next year, and you've got about 5 years in the bag. Yeah. So on that basis, give me Benson, but probably more pause than you both on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So we've kicked off the show. Nobody's been an idiot so far. 3-0 on both of those. Going to come to our next running back pairing and see if we can split the tie and see if we can get some different opinions, but maybe not, because I think running backs are a unique spot where these are going close in rankings, but we're smart guys. We do tend to share the view very similar on all these. We've got Blake Corum versus Jaylen Warren. Coming to your favorite team to talk about running backs on, Max. Who you got?
I've said this before in this show, but I'll say it again. If I know one thing about the NFL, it's that Arthur Smith is the devil. And I want absolutely nothing to do with anything associated with that guy. He came in and look what he did with Bijan Robinson, right? This guy that was meant to be this unbelievable prospect. He's going to break people's hearts again with Jaylen Warren, who everyone's expecting to come in and overtake Najee Harris and do all that. I'm not touching Warren, especially when you have a guy more talented than Kyren Williams coming into a team that is going to steal Kyren Williams' job. He's going to take his lunch money. He's going to take all his touchdowns, and he's going to plummet Williams down the rankings, and he's going to fly up the rankings himself. This is Blake Corum by a landslide for me. He's better. He'll come in. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Blake Corum finish 10 slots ahead of Jaylen Warren in terms of his running back finish next year. I think it'll be that far away. So yeah, Blake Corum by miles. Don't count on Sean McVay trusting anybody. Don't count on Sean McVay having any allegiances. Corum's going to come in. He's going to show he's better. He's going to take over. And then Warren, even if he shows he's better, Arthur Smith won't play him anyway because he's a dick. So there's so lose here. So I'll take Blake Corum.
This is super, super interesting to me because I think you've got two similar style teams or situations, should I say, going into the season, because I think Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren could almost be used 50-50. And you've got Blake Corum, where a lot of people like Mags thinks are going to come in and be 50-50 with Kyren Williams. So I see it slightly different. I think Kyren Williams is probably a little bit better than what Mags has got him touted to be. I don't think he's amazing. I think he had a hell of a 2023. And I think Blake Corum is more security for the Rams. We've seen Kyren Williams have a couple of injuries now in his career. And I think Blake Corum is ready to come in and produce from year one. But in this situation, I've actually got Jaylen Warren ranked one spot ahead of Blake Corum in Dynasty. Now, I think it's worth mentioning Arthur Smith, Pittsburgh Steelers offense. What did he like to do in Atlanta? He liked to run the ball with, famously, his RB2s. Well, he's got Najee Harris there, where they didn't pick up his fifth-year option. I think Jaylen Warren is also out of contract at the end of this year. So I think he's going to run them two running backs into the ground. And then I think Jaylen Warren is a much better running back than Najee Harris. So I'm going to take Jaylen Warren, who actually caught a ton of passes, I think, last year. And I think that offense will continue to run the ball. And I just think he's the more explosive back than Najee Harris. And I think there's a scenario where they clearly see that Jaylen Warren is the better running back than Najee Harris. I could see Najee Harris being traded or something to perhaps the Cowboys, and Jaylen Warren is perhaps the RB1. He either beats him out, and he gets 70% of the work, or Najee Harris gets traded for a late round pick, and Jaylen Warren is the guy. So I think in that situation, Jaylen Warren's value could rise. So give me Jaylen Warren, because I think the upside is there. It's higher than it is with Blake Corum. I think Blake Corum is fine. I think he's going to produce from year one, but the ceiling's not there with Kyren Williams there. So give me Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, this is a fun one. I thought it'd be interesting to Max's take on that Rams backfield without naming the other devil that's in that backfield. But yeah, this is tough. I think with Warren, I think there's a clearer pathway this year, because conceivably, I think he could be running back one from the get-go, depending on how Arthur Smith views it. And I think he's probably closer to 50-50 than Coram at this stage. I think Coram being 50-50 will be like best range of outcomes. I think Warren being best range of outcomes could be a 70-30 in his favour, because we just don't know how Arthur Smith is going to see that offense and how he's going to utilise it. I think looking at this, like we've gone down the rankings, Coram's ranked as the rookie running back 3, which is not where I have him. So I think the market's probably a little bit higher on Coram than me. But I probably would have Warren around sort of where he would rank in the list of veterans we've got on tonight's show without spoiling anything. So I think on that basis, thinking about this year and next year, I'm probably leaning slightly Warren. But I would also caveat that with he's probably not as good as people are expecting him to be, in the sense that a couple of months back, people had him and Ty J. Spears as similar sort of guys, similar sort of assets. I think there's more chance that Spears jumps up and takes a leap than Warren taking a leap as well. And it's worth mentioning, Warren is 25 years old already, so he is an older prospect. Will he hit a wall faster? Who knows? Najee Harris is 25, 26, and his legs looks like he's been running marathons every day of his life. So yeah, I'll take Warren begrudgingly. So we're going to move on to a very exciting running back, and a running back that's a veteran that's had plenty of buzz in the past, and he's got a fresh new home. We've got MarShawn Lloyd versus Tony Pollard. And we're going to come to Ali.
Come to me. This one is easy. This one is a clear winner to my boy, MarShawn Lloyd. Tony Pollard is someone that absolutely burned me to the ground last year. I was very, very bullish on Tony Pollard in Dallas working out. I was very bullish on Alexander Mattison, but there's situations where the RB2 gets cast into the RB1 role and it just does not work out. There's a reason they were RB2 in the first place. And I just think Tony Pollard, a lot of people still like Tony Pollard. They like the contract that he was given by the Tennessee Titans. But the thing for me is, I don't think he's as good as Tajay Spears. I think Tajay Spears is the guy, and he's going to continue to be the guy. Clearly, it's going to be a 1A, 1B, 50-50 situation, but I think they'll clearly see that Tajay Spears is going to be the more explosive guy. I thought he had a very good, solid year last year. I do think that will bring out the best in Tony Pollard, to have that. He doesn't have to be on the field the whole time. He doesn't have to be the early down running back. But just give me MarShawn Lloyd, because I liked him as a prospect. He was my RB4 coming in. I had 4 running backs that I was really, really high on, and that was including MarShawn Lloyd. I think the situation that he's gone into, I really, really like. I think he can eventually take over that running back 1 spot. So it's not very close to me. I've got MarShawn Lloyd ranked probably higher than some people. He's in my tier 5. He's in the same tier with Joe Mixon that I'm high on. Javonte Williams that a lot of people are high on. I think you are, Mags.
Yep.
There's that bum DeAndre Swift, but I mean you have to respect the contract situation that he's in. But yeah, I really like MarShawn Lloyd, so give me him over Pollard. Again, not just saying it because of the age and the rookie, but I do see MarShawn Lloyd's arrow pointing upwards. Tony Pollard, I think his big opportunity was last year, and he was just extremely disappointing. So, give me him, who I think it could be the RB2 in Tennessee. So give me Lloyd fairly comfortably.
It's really interesting. DeAndre Swift's had some heat for the last 2 weeks of the show, and maybe they get some heat in a couple of weeks' time as well. You have to watch out for when that show comes around. But back to the rookie versus veterans, Lloyd versus Pollard. I kind of like Pollard as a bit of a post-hype sleeper, someone that is a lot better in that secondary role. So I wouldn't be surprised if he surprised people this season. But look, he's 26 going on 27. You've got MarShawn Lloyd, a guy that's come in. We can't be slagging off Josh Jacobs and then not spinning the positive picture for MarShawn Lloyd, because for every winner there's got to be a loser, and for every loser there's got to be a winner. I think Lloyd is someone that's firmly in my sights as a player to target in rookie drafts, in startups, in season as well, for any team that starts to look like a rebuild. He's going to be someone that I gravitate towards to look to build into those 2025 rosters. So yeah, I think this season Pollard beats Lloyd, but then after that, I've got Lloyd comfortably and getting 3-4 years in your pocket. I'll take Lloyd. I used to work for Lloyd's, so happy days. Not the pub, the bank. So yeah, we're gonna keep it rolling. Go on, Mags.
This is just, I mean, Ali, do you realize what's happened here? He's just didn't give me a chance to even make any. Didn't even get a chance to pick. He's just cut me right off.
He's very passionate about MarShawn Lloyd.
I just saw Lloyd, and
I had only two things to say.
My favorite rapper is Lloyd Banks as well.
Well, I only had two things to really say. One of them was making a joke about how you can bank on Lloyd, but you ruined that as well. So he was absolutely stolen that. And then I was going to call Tony Pollard Tony Ballard, but we're past it. I'll take Lloyd. Let's move on.
So sorry, Mags. I just got so excited.
I know. I understand, Kev. It's banking. I know banking's a passion of yours.
I know that. Well, there's rumors. There's rumors going around that the Dynasty Hot Seat. You should check that out if you're not subscribed already. But there's a new concept on that show. It's got a pretty awesome host on there. Guests have been pretty subpar so far past couple of weeks, but joking, Paul picking, Ali. But yeah, there's a rumor going around I'm the banker, so I have to see.
Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? And who knows who's the best out of the next two guys that we're going to come and talk about? We've got Jalen Wright versus Nick Chubb. And Mags, I promise I will come to you and I'll let you speak this time. You go.
Thank you. Well, friend of the show, Jalen Wright, of course, joining the other two Dudley boys in Miami. Jalen Spike Wright, the third Dudley brother. And then Nick Chubb, the thing that Kev has when he talks about banking, right? So this is tricky because Nick Chubb is genuinely one of the most talented running backs we've seen in the last 10 years in the NFL in terms of being a pure runner. Man, that knee injury, it's so hard to look at. I actually seen it again the other day, and it's just like, that is just so devastating. It's not nice to look at all. And it's the second time it's happened. I don't know if it's the same knee or not. I can't quite remember. It's the second time that it's happened to one of his knees anyway. So I am finding it tricky. I'm going to lean Jalen Wright, though, mainly because Nick Chubb was never really a viable threat in the passing game anyway. He was reliant on that explosiveness and that power, and he is a little bit older. So there's a couple of question marks around Nick Chubb. Whereas Jalen Wright, I've said this a couple of times, I think, imagine putting Raheem Mostert in a time machine and making Raheem Mostert 23 years old. That's how they're going. That's what Jalen Wright is going to be. He's going to be the Raheem Mostert to Devin Achane. Whenever Mostert, who's got maybe 1 year left, we would presume he's 32 now. Like how many times do you see 32-year-old running backs really doing it for long? This Miami offense, I think they're going to stick with this regime for the foreseeable future. I just love getting pieces in this offense. Jalen Wright, really like the talent. He was actually my RB2 in this class, which I know is above a lot of people in consensus. So I think he's fitting perfectly into that system. He will be a committee back, but Miami's one of those spots where I don't actually mind just because of the way they use the football. So I'll take Jalen Wright over Nick Chubb in this case, but I still hope Nick Chubb goes back and absolutely smashes it. Nothing will make me happier.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, there might be a situation if you were a true contender that you had two startable running backs where you didn't have to rely on Nick Chubb to start this year, but then, he could work his way back. He might have this year and another year left in him. And as you mentioned, he's such a talented, maybe the best pure running back in the NFL. He's really up there, and the offense is perfect for him. So I can see a route where he's got a season and a half left in him of pretty decent numbers. But yeah, Jalen Wright, you were RB2, I was RB3 in the rookie process for Jalen Wright. Really liked him as a prospect. He fell to the 4th round, which, it's not good practice to bank on day 3 running backs. But I just think the situation is absolutely perfect. He doesn't have to hit it off year 1. I think he's a young running back. He's just 21 now. So he's got plenty of years ahead of him. He's in that perfect offense where, as you mentioned, Raheem Mostert, I think they gave him a contract just to honor how good he was for them last year. I think that's just to give him some more money. I think he'll be off. This will be his final year. And I think it will be a tremendous 1-2 punch with Jalen Wright as an explosive running back. He fits perfectly what the Miami Dolphins are looking to do. Him and Devon get the tables. Achane will be a perfect complement. Perhaps as close as the end of this season. Who knows what Raheem Mostert's got left in the tank? So, this is probably night and day. I don't really want any shares now of Nick Chubb, perhaps unless I was a true contender where Jalen Wright was a back end of round 2, early round 3. Yeah, if I was trading a 3rd round pick for Nick Chubb on a contender, I'd probably still do that even with the injury. So, but give me Jalen Wright. Love the prospect. Love the situation. But yeah, 4th round running back, we shouldn't be banking on. But I think it's still going to happen for Jalen Wright.
Yeah, it's been devastating for Chubb the past few years, hasn't it? And I'm just glad I didn't interrupt anybody and steal the thunder then. So well done to me on that one. It's like that Planet of the Apes meme. I don't know if you've seen it where he's like, "Oh no."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I felt like for the last 5 minutes. But anyway, Jalen Wright, Nick Chubb. I honestly think this is. I'm closer to Chubb than Wright than you boys. I think obviously there's a big doubt because he's coming back from massive injury. A lot of people like Jerome Ford who did all right in a role, like he got by off volume. I felt like I don't think he's anything special. And we've seen Chubb, like as a runner, he's right up there talent-wise with Derrick Henry. So it's difficult. If he comes back to anything near his full form, I think he outscores Wright over the next 2 seasons, which is sort of the window I'm playing on. And it's on the basis because there's such a disparity in age that, Chubb's not going to have anyone to sell to in a couple of seasons' time, whereas Wright would probably have some suitors out there. But I am slightly just leaning towards Jalen Wright. I think great points made by you both. He is a committed running back. Raheem Mostert is 32. There's a clear pathway there that Wright and Achane are just I'm going to say thunder and lightning, but it's more like lightning and lightning in a sense. It's like lightning strikes twice. But yeah, day 3 draft capital was a little bit of a worry, but I think that situation trumps all. And yeah, I'll slightly take Jalen Wright. He's someone that, as a rookie prospect, I really liked. But also, I wouldn't be shocked if Nick Chubb is doing Nick Chubb things in a couple of years' time, because I think it could be a little bit like Derrick Henry, but with a lot more injury risk. Mm-hmm. So we agreed fully on that one. We've actually been on a roll this show, which shows what running back is like. We're going to see if we can split it now with the rookie Kimani Vidal, and it's funny calling this guy a veteran because he's only just a veteran in Keaton Mitchell. And we'll come to you first, Ali.
Yeah, so, I mean, these are 2 guys that, I mean, in my opinion, they're both worth rostering. They're both towards the back of your, taxi squad for Vidal. Keaton Mitchell, IR, if you've got IR spots. That I mean, this is a guy that, in Spates last year was incredible. Keaton Mitchell, just explosive in that that offense, but then went down to a devastating injury. And who knows if he can come back to it. Was he an undrafted free agent, or was he drafted late on? He was someone that wasn't on my radar until he got into the lineup and smashed it for a few weeks before picking up the injury. I think the trouble is now they've obviously got the king, Derrick Henry, there. I think it's a very, very tough situation. There's just a whole body of names behind him as well, Derrick Henry. So I'm not expecting much from Keaton Mitchell this year. If he was to be cut completely, I wouldn't be completely surprised either. I think perhaps they're going to try and keep him on the roster just because, of what he showed in a short window. But this is a team that can almost fill in any running back last year. Penciling Gus Edwards, how many touchdowns he had last year, and he's a very old running back, although still talented. And he's actually on Kimani Vidal's team right now, so interesting situation. Give me Vidal. Wasn't massively high on him as a prospect. He had a very, very fun tape. Good friend of the show, Matt Thornton, the weatherman.
Stop mentioning his name. We don't want to publicize him.
I just have to, because he constantly was badgering me. You need to get him up your rankings. You need to revisit him. So I did, and I liked him a bit more after that. But that's Vidal, not Matt. Definitely like Matt. But give me Vidal. I just think the situation in Los Angeles is wide open. Everyone thinks that Gus Edwards is going to be the starter. Probably will be for this year. Vidal is a 6th round pick, so if you're banking on anything from Vidal, then that's just wrong process. So I just think that the situation is better for Vidal than it is for Mitchell. It's devastating coming off that injury, and then bad enough finding yourself behind Derrick Henry. So give me Vidal, but I'm not massively high on either of these guys now. So probably don't own these two guys in many places, but just Vidal.
Give me Vidal. Oh yeah, thank you, Kev. I'll take Vidal as well. Just boiling it down to Vidal has a chance to make a difference on your team without relying on any injuries. Keaton Mitchell does not. So I'll take Vidal. I don't think Mitchell is even, if you want, it's not really a hot take. What's like it's a take. Here's a take for you, right? I don't think Keaton Mitchell's even as good as Rasheen Ali. I think Rasheen Ali will take Keaton Mitchell's job in that Ravens team. I think he'll be the second guy behind Derrick Henry and the guy going forward that you might want, because Mitchell, he's a big play guy, he's an explosive guy, but can he do the rest of the stuff right? Not really sure. Whereas Rasheen Ali, I think, can do, is a more well-rounded player. So I expect to see more of him than Keaton Mitchell, but I expect to see more of Vidal than any of them. He's got a shot. He'll probably be a guy that, probably doesn't pan out and everyone goes, oh, remember that guy Vidal? But I'll take a swing on someone that at least has a chance, and that's Vidal.
Yeah, this is interesting. I really did like both these prospects as rookies. Someone else that did was Matt Thornton. You might have heard of him. His name might have come up on this show before, but I'm not too sure about that. Hey, Matt. I'm going to take the contrarian side on this one. I think Keaton Mitchell is someone that...
What?
Yeah.
Disagreeing with the weatherman.
Yeah, can't blame it on the weatherman. Last time I did that, it was Puka Nakua. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not suckering up to him. He's going to get rinsed in a couple of weeks anyway. So, Keaton Mitchell, he's a guy that I think as a rookie, I saw him as discount Devon A-Chain, if I'm honest, 80% of what he was doing on limited touches. I think he's better than his draft capital, and I think he's someone that I'm super keen on. The big question for me with Mitchell is, can he get back from his injury? If he can get to 80-90% of what he was before, I personally think he's more talented than Rasheen Ali. And thinking to next season, like Derrick Henry might be getting some stick in a few weeks' time as well. So I don't know how bright the outlook is on King Henry's outlook. You'll know that I'm not a massive fan of King Henry in the meantime. I think with Vidal, like it's an open-ish situation with Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, him, whoever else wants to have there. And they do typically run sort of split backfields if you're looking at Harbaugh at Michigan. So it is difficult to sort of work out what will happen with that team and will he have a shot. But there's just something that I liked in Keaton Mitchell. So it's probably risky taking Mitchell over Vidal. And I think there will be people that easily say, yeah, I'll take Vidal. It's a reroll. It's someone that's going to give me a better chance this season. I'm not too sure, though. Like, rookie running backs, they tend to be better in the second half of the season. Maybe that's when Keaton Mitchell comes back to where he could be. Maybe not. Like we're not banking on Vidal to be anything year one. But I'm probably not banking on Keaton Mitchell to be anything year one. So thinking to year two, give me Mitchell just. But I do also like Vidal as a dart throw as well. So super close for me on that one. Okay, we're going to come to the next bunch of guys. I think they're similar builds, but they're not similar ages. We've got Braylon Allen. We've got Gus the Bus Edwards. Come to you first, Max. Who you got?
Whenever I was reading the sheet before, I was like racking my brain. I completely forgot Gus Edwards existed. I had to Google Edwards running back. I was like, Gus! It's like, of course, it's you. And then I was like, oh, I'll take Gus Edwards here because, I mean, Braylon Allen is like, if it wasn't for taxi squads, this guy isn't even rosterable, really. Like, he is just the definition of buried. Like, Breece Hall might be the most talented running back in the NFL at like this age. He's looked incredible when he's been on the field. I don't see Braylon Allen, like, unless the coaching staff go full, Arthur Smith, which I just don't see Robert Saleh doing. Braylon Allen's barely going to see the field this year. Gus Edwards, he's probably the favorite to win that job. Like we said before with Kamani Vidal, like, he's got a chance, but I think Gus Edwards has the biggest chance out of the three guys there to be the lead guy. He's the most experienced guy on that team. He's come off an okay season last year, showing that he can still do it. So I'll take Edwards. It's probably a short-term one. It's probably just for a year, but I mean, in a year's time, Braylon Allen's going to be exactly where he is now, and that's riding the bench. So just give me Edwards.
Yeah. Really not too much more to add on the argument, to be honest. Not really going to spin it any other way. Braylon Allen, I think, quite hilariously, just seeing quite a lot of Jets Twitter at the minute, just with the Aaron Rodgers situation, him not being present and God knows what he's doing right now. All about him, obviously, because it always is. But Braylon Allen they're saying that he's looking really good catching passes as a pass catching specialist. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I wasn't massively high on Braylon Allen. Obviously, he produced at a very, very young age. And, he was almost a superhuman. He was, 17 years old, running back, producing in college, at a decent college. But he's never really, really took that next step. So, and like you say, he's just back up now for Breece Hall. He's that injury compensation, insurance, whatever you want to call it. And I just don't see anything else in his next round, the next few years. Breece Hall is a superstar, top 2 Dynasty running back. Had it been him backing up Travis Etienne or Rashad White, someone like that level, then I'd be more excited about Braylon Allen. But Breece Hall is amazing. So they don't need 2 running backs or 2 productive running backs there. So just give me Gus Edwards. Give me even if it's just a 1 year's worth of production. I think he'll score plenty of touchdowns this year, and then who knows? Perhaps they'll keep him around for next year as well. So I'll take a year's of Gus Edwards over a backup running back.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I think what you could see, like, we don't want to wish injury on anyone, especially Breece Hall, running back one in Dynasty. But if there is a Breece Hall injury of significance, I prefer Braylon Allen over Gus Edwards in lineups, just thinking week to week. I think he's got more, especially in that scheme, because I think it's the 49ers scheme that the Jets are based on. He's someone that I'm not going to shit on Michael Carter, but yeah, I am going to shit on him actually. Like Michael Carter was running back, 20 or something for the Jets. I think Braylon Allen could be higher than that if he had a full swing of this offense with what's got in place, especially with a competent guy like Aaron Rodgers that's not a scrambler, someone that can check down, etc. So if you think there's a chance Breece Hall misses some games, you can make an argument for Allen. He's the youngest player in the NFL as well. He's probably got 7 or 8 years on Gus Edwards. Having said that, I'm playing for this year and next year. I'm not wishing anything on Breece Hall, so it's Gus Edwards for me. But with a caveat again, he might not be like the main starter on this team. There's realms of possibility where praying J.K. Dobbins makes it back. He's far more talented than Gus Edwards. And then you're sort of having a battle between that thumper backup role. Is it Gus Edwards or is it Kimani Vidal? Now, obviously, I went against Vidal on the last one, but just be opening your thoughts like Gus Edwards, he's going in this range around Braylon Allen for a reason because he's short term. And I think there is possibilities that it's not a backfield where he is the majority as well, because what he had so many touchdowns with the Ravens and was still outside the top 25. I don't think there's a ton of talent there. He's a volume guy. He's like a really poor man's Josh Jacobs. So that's not a glowing endorsement, but I'll give him it. Gus Edwards. I'm going to stop talking about him because I'm going to give him more shit. We're going to swiftly move on to the final pairing of tonight. Our final rookie versus veteran. We had to do it, didn't we? We had to get on a Bucks player. Speaking of Buck, he puts the Buck in Bucky Irving, and he's going to be facing off against one of the Bucks' favourite rivals, the Falcons, Tyler Algier. It feels only right that we come to you first, Ali, on the Bucks rookie or the Falcons veteran. Who you got?
Yep, you've come to me for a totally unbiased opinion on this debate. And I am going to be... I mean, there's not a prayer that I'll be choosing the Falcon over the Buccaneer. This is 100% Bucky Irving. And this is coming from a guy that actually wasn't massively in on Bucky Irving pre-draft process. But when I dig into it and, I'm always checking in with the Bucks beat writers and reporters and whatever. Bucky Irving is looking really, really good. And I've turned more of a negative stance on Rachaad White in Dynasty. So I am fairly in on Bucky Irving now in Dynasty. When you listen to the coach, Todd Bowles, he is absolutely praising Bucky Irving to high heaven, saying that he's exactly what he wanted, something that we didn't have last year, which was explosive plays. So I'm excited to see Bucky Irving in this offense. And yeah, I think I'm fading Rachaad White. I'm coming more in on Bucky Irving. Tyler Algier is actually, he was very productive in that Falcons offense last year. I was absolutely pulling my hair out as a Bijan owner when you saw Tyler Algier on the field was just crazy. But it happened. It happened, and he was productive. And he looked good. Tyler Algier, you can't take it away from me. He did look fairly good last year, but the offense has changed. The offensive coordinator's changed. They're talking about Bijan as Christian McCaffrey type level usage. So I think Tyler Algier is firmly demoted to a backup, and I think that's where he's going to stay. Whereas I think Bucky Irving is going to be sort of the Tyler Algier of 2023, and he'd be productive. And for Rachaad White owners, you're going to be tearing your hair out because Bucky Irving is going to be on the field more than you want him to be. So give me little Bucky Irving over Tyler Algier. The Buccaneers over the Falcons. It's how it's going to be again this year in the NFL. We're going to win the division 4th year running, and hopefully you boys are going to agree with me, but perhaps not.
I've lived in Scotland long enough to be partial to a little bit of Bucky, so.
Hey.
I'm gonna go with Bucky of the Bucks as well here. I think Tyler Algier. If I'm coming into this Falcons team, the first thing I'm doing is fixing the mistakes of last year. And the first mistake was not enough Bijan, too much Algier. Like, you gotta dial up Bijan Robinson. You gotta dial down Tyler Algier. And yeah, I'm right there with you, Rachaad White. Kind of a guy that was a product of just being fed so many targets and getting so many opportunities. I think if Bucky Irving is the guy that a lot of people think he is, and I think he is talented, was slow. I try not to overthink too many things in the combine, but I wasn't pleased with his combine. That was a bit concerning for me overall. But just watching his tape, he didn't look slow on tape. So I think that he will be fine in the NFL, and he will go back to looking like his sort of explosive self. I'll take Bucky Irving over Tyler Algier. I'm not sure how much he digs into Rachaad White. That might take him a little bit more time than just next year. I'll still go Irving though, just over Algier. Yeah.
Difficult list. I think what my thought process here is, let's assume Rachaad White and Bijan Robinson miss time. Or let's just assume they're both available, just to be nice. Who am I more comfortable putting in my lineup? Bucky Irving or Tyler Algier? If they're both the starters, it's Tyler Algier, because I think he's got a more rounded skill set. I think Irving, yes, there's pass catching upside that I like. There's some doubts with his pass blocking still. Right, that was one of the main things that showed up on tape. And Rachaad White's a really good pass catcher. So I see him in year one being more of a change of pace back with room to grow. Probably, if we're thinking best case outcome, which is probably a worst case outcome for Mags, the Kyron Williams factor. He did nothing as a rookie, and then his second year was when he really stood out. And I think that's typical for most rookie running backs, where they have a lot bigger second season. That's when they really come and step up to the play as such. I think as it stands week to week this season, if both running backs are the backups in the teams, you're potentially going to get more luck slightly out of Algier, but with the upside that if both starters go down, what numbers is Algier going to put up as a running back one in what I consider ascending offense if the fix sort of the scheme? So, yeah, I'll go Tyler Algier, and that's because Ali hated on the Eagles earlier on the show.
Fair play.
So that brings us to the end of tonight's show, where we've debated who we prefer, the rookie or the veteran, at similar ADPs. We've done the running backs this week. We've got the wide receivers next week as well. So really exciting times for us all. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us and subscribe on X and YouTube at Fantasy Wildcard, at Wildcard Dynasty. Join us for our show every Wednesday. We are back on Wednesdays, I promise, of the every Wednesday of the off season. Thank you once again. Have a good one. We'll see you again soon.
When you have the wild card, you have the power to change the game.